Hi there. So we're going to have a go at creating a very simple overlay. This is going to be using Photoshop, and we're going to be using the layer blending options. So this is CS4, the one we've got at school is CS6, so it's a bit more advanced. You know, I'm obviously a bit of a cheapskate, I haven't updated, but same tools apply, same things I'm going to show you, you've got on CS6 at school. What you need beforehand are your photographs. So here we've got a landscape and a great big sun there, so I took this on my way into school one day, and you might actually recognise this if you walk up from the train station. And we've got a giant flare of the sun, nice horizon, not quite rule of thirds photograph. I'll probably need to crop this down and play with the composition a little bit. I've got these awful twigs here and there, but remember, I'm never going to show you something perfect. I'm always going to show you something you've got to fiddle with. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a really creepy, sinister picture. It's got a nice mist in the background. It's very, very bright. So it's not creepy yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use another photograph, that one, and that is a photograph of some texture. So that's a bit of marbled clay that I've photographed. So I've got some clay, two different colours, rolled it together, and I photographed the result. So that is a texture. So when I talk to you about this, I'll talk about texture photographs as well as a photograph that you're then going to put the texture onto. So it's not a photograph of an actual subject. The subject is the texture. The subject is the patterns, the colours there. So first things first, I've got to drag that photograph on top of my lovely landscape. So move tool, remember the top one of the tools. Click and drag somewhere near the middle, and you move it up to that tab, move down and let go. Okay, you must make sure that you've kept hold of it the whole time. Move it wherever you think it should go. Now obviously I've got a bit of a problem here because this photograph that I've dragged in is portrait, yeah, and my landscape is obviously landscape. So I'm going to make my life actually a bit easier now, and I'm going to do all that again. This time I'm going to turn that one around. So if you've got a texture photograph that's portrait, or the other photograph's portrait, and they're different orientations, it's always a good idea to turn things around first. So image, adjustments, not adjustments yet, what am I talking about? Image rotation, there we go. Have a think about which way round you want to do it. You might want to change this later. I'm just going to go with clockwise for now, but I might want to flip that around some more later. We'll see how it looks. Click and hold, drag down, I'll let it go. Now the photographs should be pretty much the same size, so they snap into place. There we go. If they're not, remember you can always stretch your photographs by using the show transform controls and dragging the corner buttons and all of that business. Okay, so there we go. My photograph texture, which is slightly blurred there, slightly sharper there because of the way that I took the photograph, is over the top. So this is the thing, this is what we're going to be playing with now. This is the blending options. So in the layers, and if you don't have it laid out there, window, layers, and that'll open it up. Okay, so now I've got a layer on top of the background being the landscape. Make sure that that layer, the texture, is highlighted. I'm going to call that texture just for future reference. There we go. To edit the name of the layer to help you, if you've got like several thousand layers on, you could just double click the word and then you can name them. So my texture layer, I'm going to make it see-through. So I'm going to imagine that it's printed on to say acetate. So there's a convenient blending option here called overlay. There we go. I could say that's done, but remember we're after something creepy. So You could say kind of the reds that it's brought out might look kind of demonic, but I want something a bit more sinister. So let's see what else we've got here. What about soft light? Oh, there you go. So I've got this sort of weird mist over the top. Hard light. Now that shows probably too much of the texture. What about these really messed up ones down here? So difference, that just completely reverses everything that's white in the texture photograph reverses the colour of what's behind. But there's another one underneath it called exclusion. Now that one does something similar, but it leaves a lot of the greys. And this is a good one to use. Now I'm trying to create a kind of mist. So already that it's kind of misty, but it's taken out too much of the background picture. So I'm now going to mess around with it a little bit. Firstly, I'm going to give it a bit of a blur. So if it's mist, if it's really close to the camera, it won't be in focus. So I'm just going to use filter, one of the blurs, very simple Gaussian blur. You can have a play around with some different blur effects if you like. Just fade it out a little bit. It's not too extreme. I'm then going to get the rubber tool. Now remember, you can make the rubber hard, so it's got hard edge, or soft. If it's a soft rubber, then it will have a soft edge to it, so it won't cut out a neat circle, it'll be a fuzzy circle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the sun back. There we go. Bring the horizon back a little bit, get the trees, and just have sort of ghostly mist at the sides. Okay, so it's got a little bit of a ghostly, misty border to it. Another thing you can do, no, there's loads of things you can do, but just for this one, I'm just going to knock the opacity of that texture down a little bit so you can kind of see through it a little bit more. So what I've done there is I've added mist to the edges of my landscape photograph. Other things we could try. Now, what I've done there is I've used a multiply, and instead of showing out all the greys, it's brought out all the blacks. So everything black is now much stronger on the picture. And what that's done is it's a technique called vignette, and it creates this kind of closed claustrophobic space. So it's slightly more sinister. So if I get rid of it, that's it normally, which is okay, you know. Put it back, immediately it's creepy. I think this is the one I'm going to go for, but what I'm going to do, just very quickly, last thing, there's my history, there we go. I'm going to go back up to there. I'm going to make that multiply. There we go. And I'm going to rub out less. So I'm not going to rub out as much. So I'm going to create quite an extreme vignette. But I am going to drop the opacity down. There we go. So this is the thing. You've got to do things, undo them, see how they look, make changes, and then go back. So there we go. I've got this sort of creepy mist vignetting, closing down the picture just by putting one picture on top of another. So that's a very simple overlay. And you're done.